everybody's back. We are going to start off with our next session. Right now, we're going into Biafra, 50 years on, a conversation on the future of Nigeria. Please welcome our moderators, UIU co-founders, Ijeoma, Okoli, and Emeka, Okpukpara.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Laura O. All right, so welcome to our session, Biafra 50 Years On, a conversation on the future of Nigeria. Afam Ijeoma Anadu Okoli, Abumoni Eznifite, Nagwata local government, Manana Numna Michi, Navy South, Anambra Queen. I am one of the co-founders of Igbo Unite and currently working as a senior program manager at Baker Hughes. So, welcome to the Biafra 50 Years On, a conversation on the future of Nigeria. Our esteemed panelists are the one and only Miss Onwenu and Dr. Kingsley Moghalu. I'm a big fan of Miss Onwenu, so I'm a bit nervous right now. As they share their thoughts on where Igbo people are today and what its future holds. I would like to hand it over to Emeka to now introduce himself.
Dali Ijeoma, Afambo Emeka Okpukpara, Onye Northija in Orumba South local government, which is in Anambra State. I'm a partner at Next Year Power, which is headquartered in Abuja. So as Ijeoma said, I'll be talking through the structure for the panel. We will first do the introductions, which we're doing now, go into a question and answer session where Ijeoma and I will take turns asking Biafra and Nigeria questions. Then we'll go into audience participation, which we will do via chat or via video if there's enough time. And then we'll go into the concluding statements.
Before we begin, I wanted to properly introduce our esteemed speakers. So I wanted to start with Ms. Onwenu. Ms. Onwenu has, with a career spanning over 5 decades, is a multi-talented Nigerian artist, a broadcaster, journalist, singer, songwriter, actress, social activist, and politician. She's a writer of her own autobiography, Her Father's Daughter, which is due out in August 2020, so please support. Her book is about her personal story and a contemporary history of Nigeria that critically analyzes the Nigerian Civil War, the hopes that propelled Biafra, and how the flame of the new republic was extinguished. Please help us welcome Ms. Onwenu to our session.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
So I will.
You'd like me to speak now? Okay, I'm going to try and address what I thought I heard from you. Forgive me if I didn't hear the whole thing, but I am prepared to say this, that coming on this platform, first of all, to congratulate you and thank you for putting it together and bringing my brother, Moghalu, here with me. It's a pity I can touch him in the spirit. And I touch all of you and say, young people who are making us proud, I am proud of you, truly. Now, when I put this out on my Twitter and Instagram, I got a lot of responses. Oh, that we want Biafra, some people said. Some people, all kinds of things were being said. And I thought it would be very important to set the guideline out for myself. You may have an idea of where you want our people to go. You may want Biafra, kudos to you. You may want to be in Nigeria, all right. But wherever you are and whatever you do, bear one thing in mind. You are a marginalized people. They don't like us. You are envied, yet you are blessed. You are industrious. You are kind people. You are good people. You have built Nigeria up. You are in every part of Nigeria making contributions. Now it's time to ease up a little bit on the complaints, or they haven't done this, and ask yourself, what can we do for ourselves while we're protesting the marginalization, while we're protesting the killings and everything? We have to begin to prepare ourselves to know that we can survive. We did that 3 years of Biafra with all all the weapons arrayed against us and all the forces arrayed against us. We survived for 3 years, something that was supposed to take 2 weeks. So we can do this. Now, I really get tired when people do nothing but complain. The businesses that we could be setting up in the South, I'm talking to myself as well, so please, I haven't come here to condemn anyone, because Osita Demma Odibabo. So we can correct these things now. What are you doing in the Southeast? Even as a group, make a collective, form a group, say, let's go and invest in skills acquisition. Let's do this, let's do that. We do it on individual basis, is what we do. And so it's not really out there. So Ndi Igbo, we built Imo Airport by ourselves. I was part of that process. We can do a whole lot more. We can help our people back home. We can train them. My father went to university in England because Aaron Dizogu people came together and contributed money to fund that trip. That was GoFundMe before the world even knew what it was. We are Republicans. We're individualistic, yes, but also communal. I wasn't just raised by my mom. I was raised by a community of women and men who cared, who looked after one another. So if I'm the Kubutata, I need atom if I get weapon and nebo. See tata gabaniru individually, collectively, communally, and as a race of people. Because we can't wait for Nigeria anymore. We've got to move on. Whatever is going to happen in Nigeria is going to happen. I can't predict it, I don't know. But in the midst of it, we can help ourselves. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Ma, for that passionate speech. We all agree. Let's move to our next panelist. I'll just read a brief bio of Dr. Moghalu. Dr. Moghalu is the president and CEO of Sagatus Strategies, a global strategy and risk advisory firm in Washington, D.C. He was a professor at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy at Tufts University, and previously served as deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He also worked for the United Nations for 17 years in strategic planning, legal and external affairs roles in the UN headquarters in New York and in other locations. He's the author of several books, including the critically acclaimed Emerging Africa. As many of you know, Dr. Moghalu was a presidential candidate in the 2019 Nigerian elections. Please help me in welcome Dr. Kingsley Moghalu to our session. All right, so Dr. Moghalu, the question is pretty much the same thing. It's just to spend three to 4 minutes talking about what Biafra means to you, but also looking at it from a historical point of view. Where we did we go to the war prematurely, given all the collateral damage that could have happened? And could we have done anything else to prevent going to war? Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Igbo United, ekene mono. Igbo kwenu. Anambra kwenu. Nwanne m nwanyị. Onyeka Onwenu. Ana m ekele gị. I'm giving you a hug from here.
I'm giving you a hug too.
Thank you very much for the question, Emeka. And I think this is a very important conference. What does Biafra mean? Biafra is an idea, most importantly. It's an idea about industry. It's an idea about the possibilities of not just the Igbos, but the Black race. And I say not just the Igbos because Biafra, as historically designed, was not only Igbo people. Biafra is about the possibilities for the Black man. Somebody wrote a book and said, in Biafra, the Black race died. You know, because the Biafra, the short-lived republic of Biafra, within the 2.5 years it existed, in the midst of all the suffering, the war, the hunger, a lot of inventions were going on, innovations were coming out, scientific and technological innovations, which I would have wished that that spirit was carried on into Nigeria after the Civil War. So when you say what does Biafra mean, it means one, a historical event that took place between 1967 and 1970, a short-lived republic that tried to secede when the Eastern region tried to secede from the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So that's the historical description of Biafra. But beyond that, there is also an idea that Biafra represents, which whether or not you have that physical entity called Biafra, I think should be in the minds of a lot of people in terms of moving forward, self-help, like Onyeka was saying, and being very innovative. And also, you know, loving justice, but without bitterness. There's a struggle for justice that's going on in Nigeria today, in various parts of the country. But I think it is understandable, but it should be waged without bitterness. But we should speak truth to power at all times. So bearing in mind that Martin Luther King fought for justice, Mandela fought for justice, but he didn't hate white people. Martin Luther King as well. So these are examples. And so, you know, today there are people who have different points of view about the Igbos in Nigeria. There are those who believe that because Igbos are being politically marginalized, which is not contestable as a statement, but I also believe that we should not dwell in a victim mentality, but that we should be more proactive, even in the political space that is called Nigeria today. Now, historically, about the war, whether the war could have been avoided. Of course, every war could have been avoided. I mean, every war happens because a number of events take place that led to physical conflict. So, but let's remind ourselves of why the Civil War took place. And it begins in January 1966. I think we should, you know, while we have sentimental feelings, because many of us were affected personally by the war, I think it's very important that we should be historically accurate when we discuss the Civil War. The events that began the war started in January 1966, when there was a coup, the military intervention. Now, that coup, I don't believe, unlike a lot of people say, that it was quote unquote an Igbo coup. I don't think Igbos sat down anywhere and planned a coup. In any case, from what we saw from Adeboyega's book, Why We Struck, there were several members of that coup who also were not Igbos. But the reality was that some people died in the coup who were the leaders of ethnic groups or other parts of the country that were not Igbos. And no major Igbo political leadership was killed in the coup. This is a fact. So, you know, what led to it is a different discussion. And that generated some very strong reactions. In July, there was a counter coup in which about 300 Igbo officers were killed. But what I think led to the war was the pogrom of 1966. If it had stopped at the coup and the counter coup, maybe not. The pogrom then led to mass killings of Igbos, and they began to rush back to the Eastern region. And, you know, everything just broke down. And the Abria Accord conference, where a last-ditch attempt to find peace was staged, that accord also broke down. And that's what led to the declaration of Biafra. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Onwenu and Dr. Kingsley. So our next question is a little bit more culturally focused. UNESCO has classified the Igbo language as one that faces extinction in 50 years. what actions do you think Igbos can take in the diaspora and in Nigeria to preserve our language and our culture? And I say and in Nigeria because one would think that if you're in Nigeria, you would be speaking Igbo, right? I remember I was in a Navy, and one of my friend's brothers or something, his name, let's call him Obina. So I was like, Obina Kedo? And his response was, I don't speak that. I was like, wait, you live in a Navy and you go to school in Navy and you don't speak that. All I said was Kedo. So let's give this one to Ms. Onwenu.
I think we're all guilty of the negligence of the language. And from one generation to the other, you can simply lose it. I was raised by a mother who was a storyteller, so folklore was part of what I ate at home. But growing up, and I look at my children, I tried to speak it to them, but I didn't do as well. So what do we do now? Let's not bemoan what has happened.
Right.
In the diaspora, I know of parents who speak nothing at home but Igbo to their children. And their children, yes, they make that as a deliberate policy. In Nigeria, a lot of Igbo people who are born in Lagos don't even speak Igbo. There is a certain mentality that when you speak Igbo, you are emotic. Let me use that word because we used it in school. No vernacular. Yes, you were punished for speaking your language. Yes. And that's where you begin to breed this dislike, this shame about one's language. And we all, even if you're speaking the English with such your English is terrible, you stick to it because it elevates you socially. And that is wrong.
Right.
We have to start in the churches, at home, in school. We artists have to begin to sing more songs in Igbo, write more books in Igbo. One of the regrets I have today, yes, I have a few, is that I never recorded my mother telling her stories. Stories that taught children about morality, taught young girls not to reject too many suitors because my mother liked to tell this. The ghost can come borrow human parts on his way to your father's house and come very handsome and marry you. And then as he's going back into the forest, he's dropping all the different parts you've married a ghost. You understand what I'm saying? These are ways that we can combat it. And we can, because if you take the Jewish language, for example, Yiddish was gone and had to be brought back from the dead. We can do that to the Igbo language, but it has to be a strategic plan, a strategic effort that involves everybody.
Right.
That's what I can say.
Good,
awesome,
good.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Let's go back to talking about the Biafra movement. Given the activities of Masaf and Pop over the past 10 or so years, what are the effects as it pertains to the Biafra resurgence movement? This question is for you, Dr. Moghalu.
Well, the question of the resurgence of the movement, for Biafra, is essentially a response by young men starting in the 2000s to the. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
By young men starting with Masab and Ralph Wazirike, I believe, in the mid 2000s, started this movement in response to the marginalization of Igbos in the Nigerian political space. They felt that even though Igbos were doing well economically and that there had been a lot of progress in many ways, but that in the political space, that Igbos seemed not to. So there was kind of an invisible block, for example, on the question of whether an Igbo person could become president of Nigeria and so on and so forth. And so they began this movement for a new Biafra, in effect. In effect, really, a secessionist movement. And then that snowballed into IPOB, led by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So my characterization of these two movements is that they are in reality, a cry for justice.
Yes.
That's really what it's all about. And it's not peculiar to Nigeria. If you look at Spain, you will see that there's been a long movement for Catalonia to break away. If you look at Canada, you will see that Quebec has been wanting to break away from Canada. What is the response to these moves to break away? That's where the difference comes in between what is happening in Nigeria and what happens in other countries. Because what happens in these other countries is that there is an engagement on the issue. What is your grievance? How can we address this grievance? But we want to remain one country, or majority of people in this country want us to remain one country. So in Nigeria, that kind of response, we have not yet seen it. And therefore, there is a perception that there is a double standard. And this continues to feed a feeling of we don't want to be part of Nigeria anymore, and so on. So this is what is going on. It's a nation-building challenge. And to be very specific and to conclude my response, what Nigeria needs, and practically everybody agrees, or most people agree, is that Nigeria today is not working the way it should be. And that the reason it's not working is really a constitutional problem. Because the original constitution in 1960, amended in 1963, was a truly federal constitution in which there were regions that had powers autonomous to them. But the military in 1966 changed the structure, appropriating a lot of the powers to the central government. And over the years, this has crippled the opportunities for advancement in the regions. And this is the real issue that is facing Nigeria today. And even on that, there is still resistance. So it's about, how can people have their space and prosper in Nigeria? Why would we allow a situation in which it appears that some people are dominating others? And naturally, nobody wants to be dominated. This is what is driving these movements. But the response, as I said, needs to be far more mature, needs to be far more statesmanly, and needs to be one of engagement and dialogue.
Thank you for that. I think your points around regions, around the confederation structure, feeds into our next question, which will be to Ms. Onwenu.
Yes.
So there was an accord that was signed called the Abria Accord, which I think you mentioned earlier. The Abria Accord was supposed to split Nigeria into three regions: the northern, eastern, and western region. Could you please
and Midwest
region? Could you please expand on how these regions would have functioned? And would this arrangement, would it have been better than the arrangement we have today with the federation structure? Over to you.
Most definitely. As far as I can understand it, the Abria Accord would have presented us with the same scenario that Dr. Moghalu just described, where there's a level of autonomy for the regions. And that was what was in existence before the military instituted the unitary system, which I'm sorry was by agreeancy. So that was what was agreed on. And Gowon reneged. Why did he renege? Why did he renege? Because it would have given the Southeast, it would have given Southeastern Nigeria and confirmed that autonomy that was necessary to move it forward. It was one of the fastest developing regions in the world. And so what has happened with the rejection of the Abria Accord, which would have exactly confirmed that federating units to apply the same principles that obtained before the coup was precisely to keep Ndi Igbo down. And that has been the agenda ever since. I want to say something in addition to what Dr. Morgan said. Yes, our people have to come out and engage with decency, no violence. And we have never used violence. It's not our style. But I find a certain arrogance among Nigerians that says to me that as Onyibo or as Ntibo, we have to remain at the bottom. There was something that happened when we successfully executed the first stay at home. I'm not sure if it was the first or second, but it was well respected all across the country. We shut down. And suddenly everybody woke up, not just the people in the north, but in the southwest, even in the south-south. Woke up to the idea of the power we have as a unit, of the unity we share amongst ourselves, of the dedication to the race that we share. And they began to panic. You saw over social media the abuses. I've talked about this severally, and I challenge it everywhere I go. The abuses that were heaped on Ndibo. I have had to challenge people in the past, like Ken Sarawiwa, who said that Igbo soldiers, Biafran soldiers, were killing the Ogoni people, whereas it was the other side that was doing it, and deliberately blaming it on Ndibani. So it's that arrogance that I find also that people are reacting to, no matter how civil we are, no matter how gentle we are. There is this belief that as a group of people, we must never be allowed to shine. Everybody is afraid of Ndibo. Instead of learning from Ndibo, all the things that came out of the war, as mentioned earlier, Ndibo and renovate, they are inventive. Nothing, all that was rubbished and thrown away. But we're moving forward somehow, and I know that may sound strange to some people. You see, a few years ago, you couldn't even talk about Biafra. You couldn't. I knew I couldn't. When I came back to this country in 1980, I found that I had left after the war and came back in 1980. If you needed to register a company, you had to have somebody from a particular part of the country as your chairman. That demeans my spirit. That demeans my humanity. That says to me, I am inferior to someone else. You may be born to rule, but hey, listen, rule over on your side. Why must you rule over me? So this is what we are reacting to now. And some of us are saying, enough. I don't care if you want to come shoot me tomorrow, you want to come kill me, because I say, I am proud to be Onyibo. I will say it on top of the mountain and in the valley. Do you want to stop my career? And they have done, because I will say that the way Ndibo are treated in this country is very bad. By the time I made the speech that I understand went viral, talking about 15 years after Biafra, there was something I applied to in Central Bank. Right after that speech, they yanked it off. I knew it was going to, yes. Oh, it happens to me all the time. But you know what? It gives me greater resolve to get to where I want to go. That's the Igbo thing. So no matter how much they step on us, no matter how much you remove from us, every opportunity to be able to govern ourselves, to be able to move forward. Take, for example, what's happening with our governors. Go to Imo State. The person that won the election is not the person there. Many of our governors cannot stand up to speak for the people who have put them in office, because basically we didn't put them there. Someone else did. And they're serving another master. With my resources, with my father's land. That is why you are being kept down. The sooner we get that, the better. And that is why we must strive to make it on our own. And we have been doing that. And I mean, our young people on the streets who go to Computer Village, no matter how much oppression they bring to bear, They remove you from where you have all built houses, the trade fair, there's problems that Igbo are having here and there. We know that, we understand that. But the thing is that we continue to strive.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. So I know we had an earlier panelist. This next question is about the presidential seat in 2023. We had an earlier panelist, he's on the Senate, who stated that Igbos don't have a chance in running for Nigerian presidential seat in 2023. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, Dr.
That we don't have a chance.
Yes, that we don't have a chance because it's already predetermined, or they already have, I guess, their master.
The more they predetermine that thing, the more they lose us. They're not very smart. They're not very smart people. We are at a delicate balance where more and more people are seeing why those who have been vocal and calling Nigeria a zoo, why they were doing that. Mm-hmm. They're gaining more people on their side with greater understanding. Because where are you going to turn? You turn to Nigeria, you're not safe.
Right.
They're marginalizing you. They can't even allow you to cast your vote and have it count. You go to my state, Imo State, you will cry. From past administrations, and the immediate past one, not Ihenjoha, he was doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The one before him, do I care to mention names? You all know. He didn't mold me. I can tell you he didn't mold me. So maybe that would help you understand. But you're playing with my life. You're playing with my life. You're playing with the life of my children, my grandchildren. And we're laughing. And it's very serious. Because the years you have taken from people like me, you'll never give us back.
Yep.
That's why I love what young people are doing. Take the reins from them. Let's begin to show them, let them know that we know who they are, and that history will record the raping of Igbo land that has gone on and continues to go on. So I really don't care for their presidency, if you ask me. It's not going to get us anywhere. It will be someone that they would only if they allow my brother, Dr. Kingsley Moghalu, then I say, okay, let's go.
Speaking of
but
that,
I know that no, they don't, because when he gets there, I know he's going to deliver.
Right.
I know he's going to deliver. He's got the brains, he's got the heart, he's got the intellect, he's got the antecedents, he's got a name to protect. Hey, but they don't like people like him. And we have to get to the point is either they will negotiate with you, yes, and tell you who to put there. And that person would have signed something for them.
Right.
So I don't care for Igbo presidency. Let me develop Igbo land. That's what I care about.
Yep, agreed. Dr. Kingsley, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, so now, I think, I was a candidate for the presidency in 2019. And I ran a candidacy with a vision for Nigeria, which includes, of course, the Igbos and other parts of the country. And I was not intimidated by anybody thinking that, Igbos cannot be president, this. I did not run as an ethnic candidate. I ran with a program. So, and I made a very strong statement. I believe that many assessments of my candidacy show that it has kind of changed the conversation in terms of the kinds of leadership or leaders we should be looking for at the level of the presidency. Beyond that, the real question for Nigeria, far more important than Igbo presidency, is the matter of the constitutional restructuring of Nigeria.
Thank you.
That's the fundamental thing. So long as you keep this constitution, it will take maybe a genius to make the country prosper. So the current structure is designed to fail, or it has outlived its usefulness. So that's the real issue. But in the current context, I believe that an Igbo becoming president is not mutually exclusive from constitutional restructuring. Both issues can go side by side. And so therefore, I would encourage Igbo people to continue to aspire to the Nigerian presidency. There's no reason why not. We should never be placed in a situation where we accept that there is some unwritten rule that we cannot be president of Nigeria, and therefore the only other option is that we must leave Nigeria. You see, that's a dangerous box to find yourself in. And I think we should continue to push forward.
All right, thank you for that. Just a quick follow-up, sir. There's been a few conferences that have been planned and a few national dialogues really focused around restructuring and what does a new Nigeria look like. So in your mind, what would restructuring look like for a viable Nigeria?
Well, thank you. Now, this is a very important question, because many people will say restructuring, restructuring, restructuring. People have different views. What does it really mean? I want you to know that when people say this, it means two things, either one of two things. It means one, either that they're genuinely ignorant of what a true federal system should look like, or they are simply being mischievous and want to create a diversion. Everybody who is old enough knows what Nigeria looked like between 1960 and 1966. Yes. It was a proper federation. So what a restructured Nigeria should look like, in my humble view, is very briefly as follows. One, that the country, the regions, whether you base it on the 6 geopolitical zones we have today, or you want to create more, or whether you want to base it on the states we have today. But the problem with the states is that many of the states are not viable fiscally. So that's why I personally prefer a regional structure, because from an economic thinking standpoint, the economies of scale are better in regional groupings, and they can develop much better than the states we have today. But whatever it is, the subnational units control their fiscal revenues and pay a tax to the federal government. That tax could be 30%, it could be 40%. In the 1960 to 66 period, it was 50-50. The regions were contributing 50% of their revenues to the center. So that is what a true federation means. So that means that, you know, you will have what today is called resource control. The federal government cannot control the revenues or have the constitutional right to revenues from oil or any other natural resource, and then give you whatever small share they want. You, that your land is producing the oil or the solid minerals or whatever resource it is. That is not what a federation is. The oil from Alaska is owned by Alaska, and there's a sovereign wealth of Alaska. It's not owned by Washington. So what we have now is, because this is what we have today, the federal government controls the mineral revenues. It is fundamentally a unitary system of government, no matter whether you call it Federal Republic of Nigeria or not. So this is very important. The second thing about a restructured Nigeria is that ideally, the constitutional layers of governance are two in a federation. That is the federal national government and the subnational government. You do not have local government areas as a third tier in the constitution. The only country that has a federal system where that is the case is India, and that is a very specific exception. It is the regional, the subnational groups that can now determine their own formation at that level. They may decide to create local governments or local councils, but that's okay. But that's not a constitutional tier of government. So this is it in a very simple form.
Okay, thank you. To piggyback off of,
sorry,
yeah.
The federal government will then control, certain common services like foreign affairs, defense. The defense of the country must be a central affair. The central bank, the currency, immigration. So these types of things. But today in Nigeria, we have a constitution with 68 items that are on the exclusive legislative list. That is only the federal government has those powers, 68. Then you have a number, maybe about 30 something, where you have concurrent jurisdiction between the federal and the states. And then you have about 6 where the local councils, that is births and deaths, if you are born or you die, if you want to marry, it's kind of very, about 5 or 6 items. Burial grounds are the things that are in the constitution for local government. So we need to devolve power down to the people and leave some essential coordinating functions at the center. So that's the vision for a proper federal structure.
Okay. So I think this next question kind of piggybacks to what you were talking about. What are your thoughts on unifying the exchange rate? Is it proper for CBN to continue spending money defending the Naira, or should they let it float to find its proper value?
I was not expecting that we will be discussing economics here. Is that for me to answer or for Onyeka?
It's for you.
It's you.
I thought Onyeka was the deputy governor of the central bank. Okay, all right. Here's what I say. The currency of Nigeria, we should move to a floating exchange rate. To have a fixed exchange rate for the Naira, as we have had in the last few years, where the central bank determines the rate. But the problem with this approach is that it suppresses the economic productivity of the country, because what you're doing essentially is that you are subsidizing foreign exchange for people who want to import things, or people who want to pay school fees for their children in America, and those types of things. So you find that the economy is skewed towards importation because the dollar is cheap, and because the central bank is subsidizing the price of the dollar relative to the Naira. But what determines the real value of a currency is how productive the economy is. It is not, as it's the case in Nigeria, the price of oil. The price of oil is what determines the value of Nigeria. So whenever the price of oil goes down, that means that Nigeria's revenues go down. And so their foreign reserves go down. And when people see the foreign reserves going down, they wonder if there is enough foreign reserves to pay for 3 months or 6 months of imports. And based on that, the value of the Naira will continue to go down. So I think we should release this thing and re-engineer the value of the Naira in a reverse way. That is to say, if you float the Naira, you will find that people who manufacture, invent in Nigeria and export will become very prosperous. Therefore, you will shift the economy towards manufacturing locally and export, because that's an economic incentive. You don't legislate the market, which is what is happening now with the central bank pumping foreign reserves to maintain a certain value for the Naira. So, but if you do it the other way around, you see a lot. Nigeria is a big country with 200 million people. A lot of foreign investors, a lot of Nigerians will bring in a lot of dollars into the economy. When that happens, there's the demand and supply equilibrium. The cost of the dollar will begin to come down. And if at the same time people are manufacturing and exporting, the value of the Naira becomes tied to what is called a really productive economy. Right now, we're running a rent economy based on oil, and that's why Nigeria is poor.
Can I add something? Because as Dr. Moghalu was talking, a lot of thoughts came to me. And really, there's something very fundamental that we need to touch on. We should ask ourselves, how much of a blessing was oil? It was huge. And how much of a curse was oil? You see, what discourages us from going to true federating units and have them strive and make money on their own is that we have a pool where the funds just bubble up from the ground. And so all that the federal government is doing and all that the states are doing are scrambling to see how much of a share they can get. And when that money comes in, we know what happens to it. There's no development going on because it doesn't pay, to be honest.
Yeah.
Someone who is investing, we're still importing toothpicks, matches, pencils. For how long? It's cheaper to import. The banks even are not helping because they rather loan you money to import stuff they know you're going to sell quickly, make a turnaround. They make their money. You go out and get some more. But those that want to go into agriculture, those that want to go into manufacturing, even on a small scale basis, have no encouragement whatsoever. But what Nollywood, which is my area, did is that we didn't wait for anyone. We started on our own. It was Nebolisa who had imported some VHS tapes and he had an excess amount of it. What to do with it? He decided to knock together a story about Onyeka, the serpent, the pretty serpent. Mm-hmm. That's how Nollywood took off. And that's what I'm saying to our people. You see where Nigeria is. Nigeria, I'm not sure, is truly a country. It's rudderless, for all we know. We have to think of the very basic things that we can do for ourselves. Thank you.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that.
I have a question. What is your take? So this is either for Dr. Moghalu or Ms. Onwenu. Your take on the issue of indigene in the East, where some states laid off some civil servants or refused to pay pensions because they're not indigents of the state but are Igbos. This happened in Enugu State and Abia.
Because they're from other states. They're
Correct.
Igbos from other states. Mm-hmm. Are they trying to say they are not Igbo? I hope not.
I think so.
I hope not. What a sad story.
Yep.
Yes.
And this is something that if the governors were working together as they should be, this is something that can be sorted out amongst themselves.
Right.
There's no reason to send any Igbo person can live anywhere they want to. Work in the civil service. If he is hired, if he's employed, someone is calling me, so I can't see you, so I hope you can see me. So if the person is employed, they're emoluments, their salary. I mean, why sack them? It's so, I don't know the word to use. It's like we're living it back in the days when there was absolutely no understanding of migration. Enugu, you were the capital of a whole region. There were people from all parts of Igbo land who came to work there. And so because different states are created, they must all go. I don't understand it. I don't know what the solution, except that the governors have to sort it out because it brings division and separation among us. And that's wrong.
Yep.
Can I add a word to that answer?
Of course.
Yeah. I think this also demonstrates why some of us, our argument that in a constitutionally restructured Nigeria, it's better to go with a regional system. This state issue, the matter of state creations, has brought a lot of divisions. And inside Igbo land, that's what is the case today. You now find, Igbos discriminating against Igbos based on states.
Yes.
Yes. And I just think that is not very good at all. And the thing with states, if you keep going with state creation, is that you will never satisfy all the micro identity agitations until it comes down to every umunna having a state. And that's just not possible. So let's focus our mind on the regional and economic, economics of scale that a restructured Nigeria can bring for economic development. Because when it's regional, you have markets, that can, no region No region, not the Northeast, not the Northwest, not the Southwest, in this country today that is not economically viable as a region. But there are many states that are not economically viable because they were not created with economics in mind, but with these ethnic, cultural agitations in mind. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a couple more questions, but I think given time, Ijeoma, if you agree, let's hop into question and answer for the audience.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So before we do that, though, I wanted to ask this last question, and then we'll jump into Q&A before the conclusion. So I have a proverb. Bear with me. Ndị Igbo sị na ọkwụrụ akarịrọ onye kụrụ ya. This proverb references the older generation as you guide the younger generation. How can the younger generation in the diaspora help build and give back? Because I think that we end up, we have these conversations, but what actions can we take so that we can start making progress to develop Igbo land?
Well, okay, let Onyeka go first.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think that the younger generation, such as all of you, such as my children out here, the first thing is what you're doing. Igbo Unite.
Yes.
And I give you kudos and I congratulate you for this initiative because there is what is called the organizing principle. Yes, we have to strive individually, but we can't, make transformational progress if we are not organized. So cultural organization amongst Igbos in the diaspora, especially the younger people, is number one. In that context, learning the Igbo language so that there's a cultural rebirth among Igbos in the diaspora is critical. And there are many ways to work on that. We've talked about some of them. There's a lot of all these language apps, and parents like us should do a lot more work with our children on speaking Igbo. So it is, my children, for example, they are all very focused on Nigeria. All very focused on Nigeria. They all want to go back to Nigeria eventually and so on. And that's because of the way they've been listening to their parents. If they had parents who say, forget about Nigeria, you are all Americans because you were born here, forget about that dirty country, that difficult country, and so on, then they wouldn't think the way they're thinking. So I think we all need not to give up hope on the motherland or the fatherland. The other thing is that, as people develop in their professional, careers, they can then begin to look at opportunities in Nigeria where they can make a contribution, either by going back to Nigeria, as a lot of people were coming back to Nigeria under the presidency of Obasanjo. Many people were coming, young people were coming back. And, so think about going back home, even if it's not right now, but prepare yourselves for it. In another 10 years, I think we will know exactly where Nigeria is going, one way or the other. And, things will be a little bit clearer for people to go back home. Certainly in Igbo, in the Southeast, there's lots of opportunities for young people. And I know that. I know that very much. So that's just my 2 cents.
I'll just quickly add, actually, you've said it all, Dr. Moghalu. I'd like to agree with you. I have 2 sons who were trained in America and came back. Yeah. They're back in Nigeria now, establishing on their own and doing very well. It hasn't been easy. Let no one fool you.
Yes.
But this is the land of opportunity. This is it. This is bigger than America. If you can come in and look deep and see what is going on around you. Is it agriculture? It's so huge. There are things that you have to do. You run the gamut of someone's life from the time they are born until they're buried. They're going to need services. The baby is going to need diapers, going to need clothes, going to go to school, school bags, school uniform. They're going to eat. They're going to marry, weddings. Along the line, something is being done. Something is being paid for. My battery is going. Sorry. This is all very new to me. So something, it's a generational thing. So somebody is spending money. How do you fit in? What can you do and be a part of it? So it is possible to come home. It may be difficult, but where is life easy, by the way? But this is your home. This is your father's land. You know, go over big or somebody else will just shoot you anyhow and put their foot on their neck. Well, a lot happens in Nigeria, but you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So after all is said and done, come home and you can ofuku oduna Nigeria, ofuku anodo ebozo, and you're coordinating with the two, between the two. But the thing is that you're putting something back home.
Okay, thank you so much for that. So we're now going to open up the floor for Q&A. So let's see who the lucky questioner will be. Let's see. Daniel, can we unmute Daniel? He had some good questions. Daniel Iwuji. Let me see. There you go, Daniel.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you to all the organizers of UIC 2020. You guys have blown my mind. My question to Professor Chidera is this. Sir, everything you said is the truth, that we need to regionalize. But my fear is this: how do we convince our brothers in Olu? How do we convince my brothers in Emekuku to see this message as one? The messages are too many. It's too many. How do we make it so simple for them to say, if you're going to be a counselor, this is the message you must carry. Don't come with your elephant project. Don't come with your foreign agenda. Let us stick to an Igbo agenda. As long as we don't have that Igbo agenda in a paper, as long as we don't have it as a mantra, it will be difficult. And I must say that I'm hearing you for the first time. You are sound. I regret not listening to what you had to say. They forced us with all the sentiments. We are regretting it today. And I totally respect Honorable Philip Ijeoma for saying the truth. It's a complex thing when your leaders are decided in Abuja and Sokoto. It means we don't have a representation. And that's why when we see people like you coming out, they tag you people as different. So please, sir, how do we ensure that this your message of regionalization is easy for people to say, I'm from Imo State, but that's just my identity, but we are Igbo people. We must have one logo, one unity, one agenda, one direction. If we don't, it will be difficult for us to solve the problem. And are you coming out for election in 2023? Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Daniel, thank you for your question. First of all, I want to correct. You may be seeing Chidera on my on my thing, but that's my daughter. That's my daughter. Yeah, I'm Kingsley Moghalu. So you shouldn't be confused. But your question is really about how do we make this regional approach real? I want you to know that in Nigeria today, the Southwest, the Southwest zone, the Yorubas, they've gone far with a regional approach to their development challenges and even their political positioning, as we saw in the Amoteku controversy, that regardless of what political parties the governors belonged to, they were able to come together to establish this sort of self-security outfit. And they also have the development agenda for Western Nigeria done. Now, in the East, we have a bit of an individualistic streak, which we need to rein in for our collective progress. So they say Igbo enweze, you know, and so you tend to find people, one person, one governor is going this way, one governor is going that way. But I think the way to go practically is this. We have the Ohaneze, Igbo, socio-cultural group. We have the Igbo Development Foundation. Then we have young people like Igbo United and so on. I think we all need to bring pressure to bear on our state governors to work together in an agenda that advances the progress of the Southeast and Igbo in Nigeria, both inside the region and externally in the rest of the country. We should not allow them to be going off in different directions. And this is happening because many of them are answering to masters outside of Igbo land.
Thank you.
So there is no, we've lost that worldview, you know, that the people they're answering to have, but they themselves no longer have. It wasn't so before, but it has become so now. So I think we all need to come together and put pressure on the governors of the Southeast to act for the interest of the Southeast first and foremost. So that is, and that can happen. There are many platforms, as I said, through which that pressure can be mounted. There's even artistic platforms, which Onyeka will know very much about, songs, movies, and so on. These things enter people's consciousness. And so it's a very effective way to also strike. Now, thank you also for admitting a bit after the fact that you should have supported me in 2019, but you didn't. Many people today are realizing what I saw. We have a problem in Igbo land. The people that our people follow are not always the people they should be following. There is a currency with which Nigerian politics is played. Some of us may not have that currency in that we haven't stolen public funds. So we don't have the money to come and be, you know, the machine that sprays money. Not that machine, that social function. You will not see Professor Kingsley Moghalu with a machine spraying money in any wedding. Do you understand? So we need to tell ourselves that here is what is serious and here is what we should be going for. Here are the kinds of people that we should be supporting if we really want to make progress. So that message needs to get out a lot more. I know that there's a lot of poverty and that is making people go for whoever can give them 1,000 or 5,000, but we can be hungry and still change our destiny. Because out of our hunger, we realize who our real enemy is, and we decide to jettison that enemy and follow the right path. So hunger can lead you in the right direction or in the wrong direction. And so what we're saying is let that suffering lead us in the right path. Finally, to answer your question on 2023, I can tell you that I am looking at the situation. That's all I can say for now. I have not made a decision as to whether or not, you know, one will personally go forward. Because I did it the last time, 2019, it was a huge sacrifice. I did not get financial support from Igbos. I didn't, because I wasn't APC or PDP. So they would go and give their money to the people who create their problems. But those who can bring the solution, they will not finance them. So there are many factors to consider in these types of things. And there's only so much sacrifice you can make, you know. But like I said, I'm open. My mind is open, and I'm looking at the situation for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
We lack political will as a people. The first political office I sought was local government chairmanship, and people didn't understand it. They said, why don't you go and be a senator or House of Rep? I said, no. The local government is the closest to the people, and I want to make a change there. But for 8 years, I was frustrated because they didn't want someone like me who will come down there and change things. And you'll become a shining example so others can say, well, if they could do it in this local government, why can't we do it in ours? Now, talking about our political will, we had a situation in Imo State that happened where it was stolen. The mandate, someone's mandate, was taken away. It didn't make any sense. Our people just sat there.
Yep.
Didn't just accepted it. And I said at that time, I said, Imo State may never be able to recover from this because a precedent has been set. And if it is found out that you could accept this much, they'll give you more. That is my fear. And that's why I like what people like Umubo United. That's what, is it Umubo Unite or Umubo United?
Umubo Unite.
Umubo Unite. That's where what you're doing is so important, this initiative. Without information, without gathering together, without pooling together our resources, our ideas, our efforts, we can't get anywhere as individuals. So this is what we must, from community to community now, because forget about your state governor. He's not listening to you. You didn't put him there. So as communities, we have to decide whether when it's time for that election, if we're going to participate, are we going to sell our votes for 500 naira and sell 4 years of our lives, our children's lives, sell our future for such an amount? Because that's essentially what we do.
Let me just put in one last word. This matter of the awakening the consciousness of our people, of Nigerian citizens, to take their destiny into their own hands. We've seen it everywhere in the world, but Nigerian citizens have been fundamentally disempowered by the political class. And so, for example, that one of the reasons I don't belong to any political party today, but we convened a group called To Build a Nation, T-BAN. And what we have set as our agenda is to educate our people on how they should see the political process, how they should participate in it, and let them have a sense of their own power. So this question of the citizen itself, because Onyeka can do all she can, I can do all I can, but if the people you are trying to save do not want to save themselves, it becomes a problem.
Right.
So this is just what I wanted to say. And our group, I'm working with a number of other people in this group, and we are working with other groups. And the more we form coalitions of civil society and citizens to drive this message of giving ourselves a sense of empowerment, so that we can actually take the reins of power. Power belongs to the people in reality, but how people just don't know it yet.
Right.
Definitely. Thank you for that, sir. Just hearing both of you speak, I have goosebumps thinking about what Nigeria and what Igbo land can be. It's a shame that, unfortunately, what has happened in Imo has set the precedence for what could happen in Anambra at the election that's coming up and the rest of the other southeastern states. So we have to educate our people to be able to not take the 500 naira, the 1,000 naira to vote for this party and hold out for the time and actually pick the right candidates. All right, so we have a question from Chika Dunga. Chika, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, everyone. Oh, my video.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Oh my gosh, this is so great to see everyone. First, I just want to thank UIU for this virtual conference. It's amazing. Like, I've been learning so much from this session. My question is for Dr. Please, if I pronounce it wrong, is it Moghalu?
Moghalu.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna let just Ijeoma say that. So my question regarding I've been doing like a lot of research, actually a project I'm working on at work regarding like China's Africa projects. And so I've just been learning a lot in general. I didn't know how involved China was in Africa. And so there seems to be like literature on both ends. Like there are people who are like for China's involvement and against China's involvement. But there seems to be like this growing concern of like a debt trap because like so many countries are taking on so many loans. Nigeria seems to be on like the lower end compared to like countries like Kenya and Angola, which have taken like more than like $20 billion. But I just wanted to know what your thoughts are, especially since like becoming becoming like economically viable is like an area that Nigeria still needs to grow in. So I just wanted to know what you think about that.
Yeah, thank you. Let me answer that question. There is a contradiction here, actually, because a lot of the business Nigerians do with China is done by Igbo. And one of the reasons they're doing that is that the manufacturing that should have been encouraged with real policies is not being encouraged. In the Nnewi, where I come from, many of the manufacturing companies, they could no longer sustain themselves, so they put manufacturing on hold and gone back to importing from China in order to survive. So this is just to bring it down to the micro level. But from the point of view of national strategy, I think all African countries and Nigeria in particular have to be very careful about their economic entanglements with China. If not, our country risks becoming a colony of the Chinese. Why do I say this? The reason why we have a problem is that many African countries that deal with China do not have a worldview. China does. They know where they're coming from. They know where they're going. They know what they want. They think 50 to 100 years out. Our countries, after mismanaging our economies, we're in a crisis and we're looking for short-term loans to pretend that the country is functioning. Then we run to China and take a lot of loans. But the problem with Chinese lending is that a lot of times we've seen in some African countries like Zambia and so on, that if you don't pay back, they can have a lock on your assets. Strategic national assets can be seized to enforce a loan agreement, which, by the way, many of these agreements, we don't look very carefully at them. So we are signing away our future because of short-term considerations. So I would say that we need to step back a little bit from this rush to China, which is happening because many of us feel that, oh, the Western countries, they speak too much long grammar about human rights. They want to investigate your democracy. But China asks you no questions. Here's the loan. But they don't understand that you're running from frying pan to fire.
Right.
And that's why we are where we are today. And many African countries are in that space because they think they're running away from the Western engagement to a more profitable engagement. But actually, no, that's not the case. So we need to take an internal review of our policy towards China. For example, the central bank said at some point they were doing this deal with China where you could trade with Chinese yuan or Chinese renminbi currency. We haven't heard much about it today. Has it solved the fundamental problem? No, it hasn't solved any problem. So the problem we have is that we don't go to the fundamentals in discussing our economic plans, but we just do short-term stuff. And China presents a very enticing short-term possibility for us. But I think we need to be very careful.
Does anyone, may I add something here?
Yes, please.
Within the Nigerian context, do you have a government that cares? Do you have a government, you have government officials who read contracts? They sign and they walk away. And then months or years later, they say, oh, I didn't know there was such a clause. You are basically working with people who were not properly elected. They bamboozled their way up there at every level. They don't care about you. They do not care about the country. They don't care if tomorrow China comes here and bombs all of you to smithereens. They don't give a damn. The point is, you have a House of Rep, they don't ask questions. There's no real debate going on. You have reporters, there's no investigative reporting going on. So who's going to look after the interest of this country? No one. We have to look at that point and say, between now and whenever we can get ourselves together, we may have lost the country to China.
Okay, thank you guys so much. This is painful because I'm But it's a process. So by God's grace, we will continue to get better. I see a question from Emeka Chikelu. Do you mind? Would you like to hop on? Let me unmute you real quick.
Hi everyone. Adamazi, neck and neck.
No.
Prof, I greet you. Igbo Unite, I greet you all. Just have a number of questions, but I'll keep it short.
Let's take one.
Just one. I'll go just one. Okay. I guess my last question. Let me see. So I was wondering. We talked about restructuring. I'm wondering, how long do we beg? Because it seems like we're begging now for this restructuring, and if it's not going to be given to us, I remember Okwesile's Nwodo 3 days ago talked about the Igbo elite, that the Igbo elite will decide on supporting the Biafran struggle if we don't get the presidency in 2023. Do you ascribe to such thoughts? And also, how long do we keep our patience on hoping to get restructuring? Thank you.
Onyeka, do you want to go first?
Okay. You can take it. I'll come in.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Now, my thinking about restructuring is this. I think we have a very small window of time within which to restructure Nigeria. If I want to be charitable, I will say the next 7 years, 5 to 7 years, max. With the fact that oil, which is what holds Nigeria's economy together and perhaps holds the country together, the price of oil is going down. Oil is no longer as strategic a mineral resource as it used to be. The more the oil price crashes, the less viable Nigeria as it is constructed today will be. So we have a choice. We either have to take the bull by the horns and be ahead of the curve and restructure Nigeria so that the different regions can actually prosper, or those, if we want to continue to resist restructuring, at some point there'll be an economic implosion when the federal government will no longer be able to share oil revenues to states, and there'll be social and political crisis. And all the loans from China, all the loans from the World Bank and the IMF will not be able to keep the contraption afloat. That's when you will have a real crisis in Nigeria. And I want to say that it's a very clear choice for the government of Nigeria today and the political elite to engage on this question of restructuring in such a way that the eagle will perch, the kite will perch. The one that says that the other cannot perch, let its wing break. That's the proverb we have in Igbo land. Yeah? So I think we have a very short window. 3 years, 5 years, max 7 years. If it's not done within that, then there are those who say that if you don't allow peaceful change to take place, you make violent change inevitable. So that's just a saying. I wasn't the one who said it, but we need to be very careful about this question of Nigeria. If we want, the only way Nigeria can survive as a country is that it is constitutionally restructured. There are too many, there are too many forces that are pulling apart. It's not just in the Southeast where you have the IPOB. You have these forces in the Niger Delta. You have these forces in the Southwest. You have some of these forces in some parts of the North. So we always focus the discussion on Igbo and Biafra as if that is not the only protest against Nigeria today. There's a protest against the way Nigeria is today from all over Nigeria. So why don't we just sit around at the table and discuss how to fix this problem? So that's my perspective on it.
Okay.
May I add something, if you don't mind? We have an existential issue that we're trying not to look at, which is the activities of Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen, Al-Qaeda moving southwards. During the lockdown, there was a really, really big problem for us. We were beginning to panic at the sight of truckloads and truckloads of men who were brought down to the southeast. They're still there. When Miata Allah, their spokes, the organization, I don't know really what to call them, they are cattle breeders and whatever, but they're more than that. When they say they're forming their own security outfit and their people are already in every part of Nigeria, please take them seriously. We saw them move in. What have we done to insist that they leave? They claim they can go to any part of Nigeria, no doubt. But why that kind of movement, aided by the army, aided by security security forces at a time of a lockdown? So something is afoot here. I know we're talking about restructuring and 5 years down the road. Are we going to survive to that period? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And indeed, we'll need to begin to address the issue of security. We have these people among us. They attack, they rape, they pillage, and nothing is done to them. Mm-hmm. Look at what happened in Southern Kaduna just recently. Has anybody been caught? Has anybody been condemned? No. How much more bloodshed can we take before we realize that our very survival is at stake?
I couldn't agree more. Thank you. Thank you both for this. We have a question from Ijeoma Emeka. You ready?
Yes, and they want to thank you so much, Dr. Moghalu and Lady Onwenu. My heart is full. There have been a few questions that we've gotten over the years, including how people can get involved in the political process while they're in diaspora. But I want to shift it a little bit to ask about social media and the importance of it. We've already seen, for example, your viral video, Lady Onwenu. Social media has grown in importance for political activism. And so one of the things I want to ask is, you know, platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, and WhatsApp, is that a way to stimulate citizen engagement in this political life? Or do you have other suggestions? How can we truly get involved in the diaspora?
You are doing that right now with this engagement. Unfortunately, we have to deal with COVID-19. Yeah. So we're restricted. So it's gonna have to be on social media for now.
Yes.
Until things begin to change. That's all I can say. And thank God for social media.
Thank God.
Yeah. Because you would have probably invited me to come over to the US and address all you guys. And that would have been lovely, but you know, we're doing it. We're doing it now. We're doing it, it's cheaper the way we're doing it.
Sure.
And hopefully that's maximized. Oh, most definitely. Let's maximize and see how many people we can reach and continuously engage and innovatively too. Yeah. Who knows what, one of you might just discover a way that, you know, you blink and you send a message across the camera.
Possible.
Okay. Yeah, my thoughts on social media. Mm-hmm. I think social media is increasing in importance, no question about it. But for now, social media is mostly social. Mm-hmm. It's not as politically effective as it is, for example, in a place like America here, where you have Facebook determining elections. Mm-hmm. That's because of the level of education and awareness. Mm-hmm. So we come back to the question of the awareness of the citizens in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. The people who make the difference in terms of electoral outcomes or who participate are actually mostly not on social media. Mm-hmm. They're in the villages, the old women. They're the ones that get the 500, 1,000 and come out and vote. the ones on Twitter, they are keyboard warriors, but many of them don't vote in Nigeria. So, so I told them, for example, I said, if you think I'm looking for your vote on social media, don't fool yourself. I'm here to educate you or to be educated by you. I'm not looking, when I want to look for a vote, I know where to go and look for it. And it's not on social media in Nigeria. So, but we hope that if young people who use social media a lot become politically engaged, then you will see social media having that impact. Right now, there's still a lot of apathy, certainly the last elections. I don't know about 2023. Now, T-Ban, to build a nation, our movement, our citizens movement, one of our campaigns is for diaspora voting. We are campaigning heavily for electoral reform in Nigeria to include the ability of our people in the diaspora, such as everybody in whom we will unite, to be able to vote. Realistically, I don't think this will happen by 2023, but I think it will happen by 2027. The 2027, if there is, an election in 2023.
A proper leader in 2023.
I'll just quickly add that in terms of spreading awareness, social media is very important.
Yes.
Consciousness that is being elevated can be multiplied several ways to play it forward, because many of you can influence things in your villages, your umuna, in your locality, in your families. So social media has a role to play, but I do agree, those on social media mostly don't vote. On that day, to come out in the sun, it ain't easy. You come out in the sun and stand there and then make sure they count you. Oh, we've been through it. It's grueling, but it needs to be done. But so the reform, electoral reform, very important.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes. Thank you for that. We're definitely out of time, but what we'll do is we'll go to each speaker to give us a closing statement, and also let us know if there are projects you're working on or events you're working on as well, and how we can support. Thank you.
Yeah. You want to start with me? Oh,
sure. Yes. Ladies first.
It's ladies first.
Absolutely. Please, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank you so very much. I've enjoyed this and also learned from you. It's been an honor and a privilege to spend this time with you. I want to say to you, don't lose hope. I know we've discussed a lot of things that are dire. They have dire consequences. Things don't look good, but never lose hope. Every one of us has a sphere of influence. Use your own. With what you've learned today, play it forward and make sure that you continue to be engaged. Do not leave political activism or involvement or engagement because it's a dirty game that only certain people play. You allow that by not getting involved. So keep hope alive. Believe in yourself, know who you are, be proud of who you are. Don't let anyone ever convince you, well, you know better anyway. Yes, so I want to encourage you to continue along these lines and to be concerned about what is happening back home. Yes, you're not even comfortable in America, let's speak the truth, but you need the home base to be okay. So keep this involvement going. And for me, what I'm doing, whatever I can do to advance the cause of Ndigbo, I will do it. Wherever I can do it, I will do it. I've just put together my memoir, which is coming out in a matter of weeks. And it's not just a personal story. It's a political one. It's a history of this country, a glimpse of the history of this country, of a particular period, going from the 50s to the 60s, 70s, and up until now. So those things they refuse to teach you in school, you're going to learn about them in my book. And I speak candidly. I'd like to say that I don't do fear. The day you begin to do fear, you're finished. Speak your mind, speak your truth, fight when you need to, listen, step back when you do, but always know that your human rights should never be taken from you. No one can do that. unless you allow them. I wish you all the best, and I love you very much. God bless you.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lady Onyeka. Speaking on my part, again, I'd like to thank you. I think it's been a wonderful event. And I'll give you pretty much the same message. Stay on it. You are all great young men and women. Igbo amaka. It is possible to be Igbo, proud, and also to be a Nigerian, proud. It's not mutually exclusive, but in Nigeria, we must be respected. We must have all our rights, just like everybody else. We don't seek to oppress anybody, but I don't think anybody should oppress us either. So I want you to, in the diaspora, be engaged, because if you look at Israel, you will see that the strength of Israel lies not only inside the homeland, but in the Jewish diaspora. And in fact, it was the Jewish diaspora that made Israel possible because of the homecoming. And they went home to claim their land and to fight for it and to live in it and prosper in it. So if you look at Israel, if you look at China, if you look at India, where you have the non-resident Indians, NRIs, you will see from all these great countries the very spectacular role that their diasporas have played in their rising. Nigeria will not be able to rise without the diaspora. I say it and I stand on it. It is the diaspora working with the people at home, injecting different ways, more modern ways of thinking based on your exposure, that will help the country to grow. Now, I am working on a book project. It's my 5th book. It's called The Pundit's Mind. And in that book, I will also discuss, it's a collection of essays on the future of Nigeria, the coronavirus essays, the economy, essays on the economy, essays on international affairs, and some personal reflections. So it's going to be a potpourri. It will be coming out in the 1st quarter of next year. I'll keep you posted, but I suspect I'm looking forward even more to Onyeka's book. So everybody knows what I write and what I say. So, but we'll be looking forward to what Onyeka has to say.
You won't be disappointed.
Yes, that's right. So I think, if you can look forward to both books,
absolutely,
get them and read and circulate among our people in America, that would be great. So thank you again for the honor of inviting me to speak to you.
Thank you.
I was joking with a friend of mine who spoke last year. The two people that spoke last year are my very good friends. So one of them said to me, "Oh, last year myself and so spoke." I said, "Yes, this year Onyeka and myself are speaking." So I said, "This year they decided to go for the older youth." That's what I said.
That's a good one.
So yes, but thank you very much.
It's been a blast. Thank you.
We appreciate the wisdom from you guys so much. It fills our heart with so much joy that you guys made the time and effort to prep for this, to be here today. So we thank you. Chukwu gozie unu. Ka Ha Hu Anyi. Let them see us wherever we are in Nigeria or in the diaspora. Daalụ nụ. Jisike.
Thank you.